Kaptain Robbie Knievel, hailed by his own father as the greatest daredevil to ever live. The first to conquer the fountains at Caesars. And the only man to ever jump the Grand Canyon. He is the living legend of Knievel, an intrepid risk-taker who has walked the line between life and death countless times, pulling the trigger on the most mind-boggling motorcycle jumps of all time, and lived. Unknown until now, Robbie Knievel is an intrepid seeker of the unknown, a man who has traveled the world and experienced the unbelievable, searches the globe in pursuit of the biggest thrill of them all, to unlock the mysteries that have eluded mankind for centuries. Join us as we explore the unknown, Knievel's quest, Bigfoot.
Hello, Bigfoot seekers. I'm Warren. They call me Squatchy because I've been searching for Bigfoot for most of my life, ever since I saw the Patterson-Gimlin footage on TV in 1967. Now, years later, my best friend, Robbie Knievel, and I get to go to Willow Creek, which is the town nearest Bluff Creek, where the infamous footage was shot. Robbie's been interested in Bigfoot for as long as he can remember, too. So hang on for the ride as we journey to Bigfoot Mecca.
I just want to go to a place where I've heard stories and had eerie feelings my whole life. I've never seen a Bigfoot. I've never seen a Sasquatch. But when you look from space at the earth and what God created with the ocean and everything in it, and the mountains, the rivers, and the unknown, and how fast I heard Bigfoots move and everything, I believe they're out there. And I had a friend, Doug DeMokas, the Wheelie King, take a picture of a footprint when he went on an expedition in Oregon. And, I just always believed in them, and I'd really like to see one, because as big as they are, they probably got a big heart, and maybe I can sit down and have a drink with them. I don't know.
Terry and the fine folks at the Willow Creek Museum have invited us, and it's the greatest Bigfoot museum ever, period. And of course, has the biggest Sasquatch wood carving that's just awesome. He looks like the hairy man or the weeping man or the boss of the mountain.
I would just love to see a Sasquatch in the wild. And I've seen film, a few different films and pictures of Bigfoots, and it's totally believable. But I think it's my turn to go out after all the risks and all the things I've done, like my dad. It's time to go out and go on the man's quest and find and see and capture on camera a Bigfoot. And if I ever died, I'd hope it'd be from a grizzly bear or a Bigfoot. I just want to go out. I grew up in the trees. I grew up everywhere. I just know they exist, and I just hope I get to see one. some of the most professional Bigfoot friggin' seekers in the world with me. And I know more about Bigfoots than they do, so, you know, I'm definitely gonna see one, have a beer with them, maybe a Twinkie, just so I can say I did. And if I don't get a picture of it, you know, you can take my word for it. I've been up in the redwoods. Me and my girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, went through there at like 2 in the morning, the redwoods, and I was going like 30 miles an hour in my Jaguar. And there wasn't a car on the highway, Highway 101. And all we were doing was staring, looking for a Bigfoot all the way through the redwoods, man. Never saw one. I'm going to see one this time. Humboldt County and all that, and the Bigfoot Museum I've never been to, so I'm really excited about that. And to meet the people that have had sightings and to talk to them face to face and know that they're for real. And I know if people are for real, because nobody knows people like I know people. I see right through people.
Look at all these artifacts. Oh my gosh. This is showing us miners' tools, guns, weapons of the era, and more that put it more into perspective with your early Sasquatch accounts, which quite frankly, you don't even need to hear about new encounters, because if you refer to Dr. Ivan T. Sanderson's book, The Abominable Snowman Legend Come to Life, as well as John Green's work, or any of the Four Horsemen, the most important guys from the very beginning of this who are part of the Tom Slick expedition, which include Grover Krantz, Rene DeHinden, John Green, and Michael Byrne. Those were the Four Horsemen of Bigfoot. And Mr. Tom Slick, who had previously done an expedition into the Himalayas, was fortunate enough with his activities to retrieve Yeti feces, which to this day maps out through its DNA as unknown primate. There is no registry of DNA for the Sasquatch creature from an ignorant race of science and academics, because it's before, and science and logic can never define the truly mysterious, the mystery of all creation, God's grace on earth.
The right habitat for Bigfoot, I have no clue. I've heard they've been sighted in a lot of places, but mostly the Northwest, up to Alaska, Canada, the thick trees. I think the thicker the better, so I'm just hoping I have a little short acquaintance with one of them. I hope it's a female, because it might only last for 2 minutes. And then I could have a half Bigfoot, a half... Never mind. Now look for Sasquatch.
We are looking. Look at, see this? This is where they go. This is where they would live. They would live up at the top of that because no human could do that.
I just want to get the Bigfoot virus, and that would probably take, you know, some kind of shaking hands or something. Forget about coronavirus. I want the Bigfoot virus. Whoa!
Now we're in a higher elevation, quasi-treacherous 2-lane road. Well maintained, I must say. But we see the high valleys and quasi-canyons that we've deduced that the Sasquatch may very well create its habitat or dwelling upon these peaks, because perhaps they know that humans cannot traverse them while they can with relative ease. due to their musculature and stamina. Perhaps it has to do with their feet, which have the bitarsal brake and leverage the weight of the Sasquatch in a different way than a human foot would. As we get closer and closer to Willow Creek, it's just so obvious why the Sasquatch would be here. Look, Rob, look at those mountains and the trees and...
Feeling it. Unreal.
15 miles from Willow Creek. It's beautiful.
Bigfoot everything around here, man.
And here we are at the legendary Bigfoot Motel. It's full circle, as it's the same motel that the Four Horsemen and members of the Tom Slick expedition stayed in 1959.
I gotta take a big foot piss.
So I'm going to drop you off at the Bigfoot bookstore, the famous, legendary Bigfoot bookstore, to meet Steven Strufer and Robert from the Bluff Creek Group. They're going to be our point men along with Rowdy on our expedition. And I want you to meet both of them and hear about the area and, of course, the infamous Patterson-Gimlin film.
I'm ready. It is pretty there, I have to admit that.
Hello!
There's probably scorpions there.
Hello, Robbie Knievel.
I've heard a lot of stories over the years. I'm a big believer. I want to see, I hope, this scary monster, this Bigfoot, 7-10 foot tall. That's what I want to see.
Well, you're in Willow Creek, the right place to go. And it's just south of Bluff Creek, where all the famous stuff happened.
We can't take you to the film site because there's a closure on it right now. But the nice thing about the closure, that place stays wild for like up to 8 months a year, where public access isn't there. So that means the animals have a place to go and hang out without people, and allows the resource to come back. So he makes it more of a nice place for wild animals to hang out. Yeah, we're just looking at the map here, the Bluff Creek area. We're always debating, but looking at different access points, and we just got done talking about Louse Camp, or why they call it Louse Camp. Yeah, it's right in the bend of the creek there. It's where a couple creeks meet, and that's a traditional place where when they were putting the roads back in, that was their main camp back in the 58.
Whose main camp?
The loggers, when they were putting the roads in.
That's ground zero Mecca of Bigfoot in Bluff Creek.
That's the ground zero, huh?
The Patterson film was shot, which is hard to see on here, but just up Bluff Creek, about right here, is where the Patterson film site is. I know it's just as far as you should get there real easy.
Where's Willow Creek from there?
Willow Creek is way down over here.
How many miles?
Maybe just like 25 miles.
Is it steep mountains, thick trees, Sasquatch land?
Oh,
type
yeah.
stuff?
I'd say yes on that.
Well, this is where the film was shot. This is where those tracks were found in 1958.
Okay.
So all of the expeditions and stuff, the Pacific Northwest expedition in 1959 was based right there. So it's tradition for the Bigfoot hunters to go to this exact spot. And you're surrounded by mountains. This whole area is nothing but mountains.
It's an old black and white shot It has Tom Slick in it. He was one of the original guys who was funding the Pacific. What's that? Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, you can see that in the museum over there.
That's where they were posing at the fire ring at this
Not
place
like
here.
the Burning Man or nothing. Right?
No, definitely not like the Burning
I don't
Man.
think the Forest Service would appreciate that.
Okay. How far back you talking?
Well, that photograph was taken in the 50s.
Okay.
Was it, Stephen? Do you remember?
Yeah, they made this camp here to be the base for the road construction.
That's what I'm asking.
So
Yeah.
1958 is the classic year when they put the bridge in right here that says 1958 on it.
Okay.
It's also when they were making these brand new roads and they found all those Bigfoot tracks up there. Bigfoot was living undisturbed in here, except for a few hunters and campers. There weren't these roads to even get in there. They took it all the way across here to the top, and that really opened the area up for logging and other uses.
Give me a mile radius around this ground zero.
These little squares you see on the map, these are a mile. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
10 to 20 miles.
Well, are you talking about from Louse Camp to
Just the
film site?
whole area
Well,
around ground zero, what you call it.
wow, it would cover more than just what we have here. But let's give you a distance from Louse Camp, where it's the main central camp where a lot of people utilize, to the film site, which is right about there. And each one of these is a section. It's a mile. So you go about 1 mile,
Okay,
2 miles.
I see.
So you're looking at about a little less than 2.5 miles is the Raven flies from Louse Camp to the film site.
Is there mountains on this map?
Yeah, it's topographical, so you can see the contour lines. But yeah, this whole thing's
the
a
contour
canyon.
lines. Okay,
Yeah.
I see it.
See, here's Bluff Creek.
Right.
And these are the headwaters
There's
of Bluff
mountains
Creek.
everywhere around here, but
Steep mountains.
so there's a lot of water running
Yes.
through here, all the way to the ocean.
Yes, that dumps into the
Okay.
Klamath out this way.
Right.
It goes in.
So there's a lot of territory, hidden trees, thick Bigfoot territory to go fishing all the way to the ocean.
Yes.
Okay. And that's why there's been a lot of sightings in this area, and they call that ground zero.
Yeah, because it's pretty close. It's the first established campground close to where Bluff Creek is. So that's
Okay.
why that's why we call it Ground Zero.
Okay. In 1958.
Well, prior to that actually, but that's when the Jerry Crew cast was cast in 1958.
And what is that?
You want to talk about that, Stephen?
Jerry Crew was the guy who was driving the tractors, making the roads. So you'd have some loggers come out and cut the trees out, and then he'd bulldoze the rest.
Okay.
Cat Skinner, and he was bulldozing new roads up past this Louse Camp place where they started finding Bigfoot tracks in the new plowed dirt, right? So he was the guy who brought the track down to the newspaper in Eureka. And
Is that
that's
where they
how it got all over the global newswire.
You know, I've heard about casts of Bigfoot prints, and I am going to the museum, the Bigfoot Museum. And is this where they might have first found the first footprints?
Well, this one, in this whole book, you got page after page of topographical maps, but this one page here has almost all of the famous Bigfoot tracks found in it. From here over to here where the Patterson film.
Most of them.
All of the most famous ones from the 50s and 60s were found right there.
That's what I want to know.
And they have copies of that over in the museum, so you can
Okay.
see them there. In the drawers there, you can pull them out and see the actual original casts
Really?
with the same sand on it, the same Bluff Creek sand on the bottom of the track.
Cool.
Congratulations, you're now the proud owner of sand from Patty's film site. This is from the film site, the Patterson film site. There's a corridor section where we found the film site area, relocated it. But the place where Patty kind of traveled through, this is sand from that ground where she would have walked. And you get your own sample of
That
the
is
sand.
really weird, because my great-grandmother used to collect sand from every beach she went to around the world. She lived to 103. And I haven't seen a bottle that size with something in it, like sand, since then. So this is cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's kind of nice. It's like the sand is really fine, and some of the photographs you'll see of the cast or whatever, it's kind of like a bluish hue to the sand, and that's because it's the parent material kind of has a little bit of bluish coloring to it.
I get it.
It's really sticky and soft, and you could just put your fingerprints on these, and it really captures it. And you can do that right now. Go ahead and press your finger on that thing, and it sticks to your hand. It's kind of gray. And if you look carefully at the sand you just pressed into, you can actually see some of the grooves of your fingertips in it. You can see it sticks. That's why it shows up gray on it. And it sticks right to your finger. So when Patty walked across, and in the movie, you see her walking across, and her bottom of her feet look kind of gray, it's because the sand is sticking to the bottom of her feet.
Huh. You guys should maybe start your own Bigfoot FBI shows.
In forensics.
FBI forensics. So we went to go find it. Steve and I and Ian originally started looking for the film site. What helped us find it was kind of an aerial photograph, much like this one, where it was taken by Renee in '71, and you can see there's all these landmark artifacts like stumps, logs, down trees.
Is this the same place they took the photograph of the Bigfoot walking out of the river?
This is the same location.
In 67? And this was 70, 71?
This is taken by Renee DeHinden, who was investigating and doing follow-up collecting evidence afterwards. So he took the shot from the top of a hill to capture the whole film site area.
Okay.
And these artifacts line up with the old photographs in the movie of where it was. So what happened is, over years, I think 45 years before we started doing our investigation, this is now a forest. You can't see it. You can't see from the top of a hill. It's all overgrown. So what we had to do is we had to go through and grid search a map, pretty much go through and find a north-south axis points, grid into 30-foot size grids. I know it sounds complicated, but we drew a map of all the logs and stumps and down materials that were there into a grid so we could find it. And then we took that grid and we compared it with an aerial photograph, and we matched the artifacts that were in the photograph with the artifacts that we drew in our grid map.
What artifacts?
Artifacts would be like logs, stumps
and
organic deposits
from the guys cutting trees way
from
back.
the vegetation decaying over time. So here's this 1971. I'll put this back over here. And you have 71, you have these dead logs, right?
Right.
These snags. Well, they're decaying now, and and there a lot of it's organic material. But you can't go here on a hillside like Renee did in 1971 and take a photograph of this because it's overgrown. So we had to go on foot, cross the gravel sandbars, and find a north-south axis point to draw a perfectly rectangular square grids. And then we drew into these grid the artifacts like logs and stumps in their position.
You guys should line up my ramps.
Really?
Well, this is where we were hoping you could do a jump right over
Yeah, right,
here.
jump to the hillside here. And so we did, after we got all that done, we ended up taking that information. That's where this map comes in. Let me switch this for you. And we drew this.
Are you guys millionaires? Let's go back to the jump. No, I'm kidding.
So here is pretty much what we figured out, where all the landmarks were drawn in according to the grids that we created. So we were able to duplicate it based on this and the artifacts. So we confirmed that this was the film site.
Okay.
Before people...
Now, is Renee a guy or a girl?
Renee's the guy.
Okay.
Renee DeHinden.
I got an aunt, Renee. I was just wondering.
Yeah. And there was a Renee on Finding Bigfoot, too.
Okay.
So all the background trees is what people were using originally, trying to look for the big tree.
Right.
Problem is, there's a lot of big trees. Well, not a lot, but a few of them, and they were pretty deceiving. But they couldn't see the stumps and the logs that we have drawn in here because it was overgrown, and you couldn't find these.
Right.
And the only way to find it was to stumble around aimlessly and trip over them, but they're all covered with vegetation. So in the process of doing north-south angle lines, 30-foot grids, walking through systematically and drawing the artifacts, which are the stumps and logs, into position, going back and forth, we were able to create this map. And this map proved to some naysayers that, yes, this is the film site. And people can point to all the big trees they want, but they didn't have these artifacts to tie in the big trees, and that's what we
What
did.
we were surprised about the most is that these things still exist. You know, these are all dead wood stumps and log piles from a big flood that washed through there in 1964. So it took out that whole sandbar, which is now grown back, and left it like that with basically nothing living on it. you know, and you can see the trees are already starting to grow back there in 1971. So by the 1990s, you know, nobody could find the darn place. But all of these things were like in a time capsule, preserved, you know, in the sand, not rotten away at all. No one had done any logging on the big trees, so we were able to basically see this film site as it was when the film was shot, by taking away all the new growth and just representing this as it is.
Right.
It's all old. You know, even the living trees, we put a tree bore in there so we could figure out how many rings there were. You know, was this here in 1967 when the film was shot? That's how we figured that out.
So we got a tree bore is a mechanical device that you bore into a tree.
Right.
Pull out the rings of a tree to estimate its age. So we estimated whether or not trees were here in 1971 when this shot was done.
Which they could have been easily.
Yeah, yes. So, like we found out that the alder trees, which are fast growers,
I know they're
the bigger
wider trees. Yeah.
and they were pretty much, they lived about 35 years and then they die out. So none of the alder trees that were there were at the time. And then the firs were there, some of them.
How long do the firs live on an average?
It depends. They could live
And
250.
there's a lot of firs, right?
Yeah, they
Different
More
kinds
than
of
that, even. Some of them are
white
huge.
firs to ponderosa firs to
Yeah, mostly out here we have our Douglas firs is predominant.
Douglas firs.
Yeah,
That's
here's
mostly
predominant. Yeah.
Washington.
Well, some of them are huge. Like if you
Yeah.
watch that Bigfoot movie, you can see that gigantic tree in the background.
Right.
And that's the one we were all looking for. You know,
Now,
like,
how long compared to a redwood does that?
Oh, well, redwoods will outlast the Douglas firs. The redwoods
Wow.
can live up to 2,300 years or more.
Holy cow.
Coastal redwoods. Giant sequoias a lot
Probably
longer.
Bigfoot's living in the redwoods.
there's tons of sightings reported all from the redwoods all the way out here to Redding. You know.
Right. Wow, I didn't know they'd live that long.
At least the trees wise. We don't know how long Bigfoots live, but the trees wise, yeah.
Maybe we should do a tree documentary.
Well, if you're looking for Bigfoot, this is a good place to find one. You know.
I want to build a tree house out here and just live here.
Well, that tactic might work. You know, they say if you go out there and live like a Squatch and smell like a Squatch, you will be less offensive to the Squatch. You're more likely to see one.
Got it.
Yeah, it's a good place to look for Bigfoot. That's why we have all our trail cameras here. You know, set up all around the area to monitor 24/7 all year round whether there's any Bigfoot activity.
Okay.
And so project's been going since the fall of 2012. And it was at 2020 now. So it's been quite a long time.
The bookstore here in Willow Creek. How long has it been here and how many books about Bigfoot and how to get established and why?
So I opened this store in 2005.
Okay.
And I called it Bigfoot Books, you know, just because it seemed like a cool thing to do out here in Willow Creek. Since we have the Bigfoot Burger and the Bigfoot whatever, everything.
Hotel, yeah.
And so Bigfoot researcher people started coming in here thinking, well, it's a bookstore, it's got to be a source of information or whatever.
Right.
So since then, that's what I've been more and more drawn into doing, is talking about Bigfoot every day.
I want to get my own still shot of Bigfoot with me.
We like to think this is the real place to look, you know, the best place to look.
Right.
From here up into Washington, the most solid habitat.
Oregon, Washington.
Right.
Yeah, but
Great
I mean-
Northwest. The great Bigfoot mountains and trees.
Yeah,
Hideouts,
but you know, like
caves, everything.
back in Ohio and those parts of the country, the trees and the deer and all the other things are coming back, growing and growing, and more Bigfoot sightings are reported out there. You know, Florida too, down in Texas. I mean, all over the country.
You've heard of the term skunk ape. That's a Florida thing, so it ties into
Yeah.
Florida.
Stinky,
Yeah, but
smelly, like get out of my way, get away from me, get out of my territory. The
Yeah,
smell that they put off.
it could very well be that. Because you're on your expeditions or going out to walk around the forest, and every once in a while you catch a pocket smell of something really stinky, and in the back of your mind you're always going, "Is that a skunk? Or
Right.
am I being followed? Or is that Patty?"
But if you really want the Bigfoot action, you want to get out there into Bluff Creek, you know, a place like that where it's really wild.
I'm hoping I'm going there.
So there is a place we can't get you all the way to the film site, but we can take you to a place where Bluff Creek puts into Klamath River. It's kind of a interesting place. We'll take you there. We also have a camp nearby, and we got a fire ring. We kick back a little bit. Maybe tonight we can go out and do some knocking or some calling, and we'll see what happens. Maybe we get some action out there.
That sounds a little bone chilling, but I'm ready. Let's go before it gets dark.
I got you on that one.
Man, let's go. I'm getting a chill.
On the way to the infamous Bigfoot Museum, we get word from Steve, Rowdy, and Robert of the Bluff Creek Group that they've got a retired parks employee who had an amazing face-to-face encounter with a Sasquatch close to where the Patterson-Gimlin footage was shot.
Hello.
I'm Dick.
Hello, Dick. Nice to meet you. You all three look like characters.
Where we are now, it was so full of smoke that the streetlights were on in the middle of the day. We had driven our truck, a Forest Service truck, up Highway 96, and we had stopped at the ranger station in Orleans. This is before there was radios in the truck and any of that stuff. So we knocked on the door and told them where we were going, and they asked us if we had a camera. And yes, we did, and we had a good camera, and so they asked us to please stop and take a photograph or several photographs of a place where there had been some illegal logging and the theft of a couple of Port Orford cedar. And my partner and I got up there, and we had other things that we wanted to do as well as take pictures. All the time I was there, I had this feeling, you get the feelings, I get the feelings. Somebody is up here watching me. But I'd look around and I could never see anything. So I took a whole roll full of 36 shots.
Right.
And my partner came back with the truck, and it seemed pretty much like lunchtime to us. So we had some nice fresh water and blackberries, or blackberries for lunch. All right, we just gobbled them up.
I love them.
And went on and walked maybe a mile and a half, did all of our measuring and all the stuff that we had to do, and came back, and my partner was driving, and we're on this really narrow road. I mean, it's maybe 12 feet wide, maybe 15, but not a two-lane road at all, and it's a dirt road. And all of a sudden, he's got his foot on the floor, and he said, "Son of a bitch, look at that." And, we're on this really narrow road, and he's got this truck up to about 25 miles an hour, which is pretty damn fast. And
on that road?
Yeah. And I said, "Where?" And he said, "Right straight ahead." And he's got the truck aimed right at this big stump where we ate lunch. And there's a head and shoulders that came up from behind the stump and took one look at us, and then, so if I'm facing you, and this thing turned around like this and looked back up the road the way we were going, not where we were coming from, and then turned around and it ran up an old skid trail.
On 2 feet or 4?
2 feet.
Okay.
Okay? And we figured out that, hey, that thing wasn't any bigger than, it's not 10 feet tall. It's not anything like it. It's no taller than we were. When we stood behind this stump again, our heads and shoulders were the same height as that guy's head and shoulders. Mm-hmm. So we think, it must be a small one. They got to grow in order to get to be 8 feet taller. And then we measured the distance that this thing ran, and we had a long tape, so it was 120 feet, and that's how far we could see it go into the woods.
Did it run fast?
Maybe 4 seconds, maybe 4.5 to cover 120 feet. You can check that out and compare it with what
I used to run that in track.
No, you can see how that's what an NFL.
But it wasn't like he was
lineman
afraid of you guys, but
no.
wanted to get away.
What we thought was that this is a young one, When he turned around to look away from us, he was looking for a sign from his mother. Or he or she was looking for, we could not tell what sex this thing was.
Right.
And then it turned around and made it up the hill.
Huh. And you watched it go up the hill.
Yeah. And we also had this tape. We were, at the closest, we were 60 feet from it. So we weren't 500 feet away. And, and it was a reddish brown color.
Was his face all hairy, or was it bald face?
Looked a lot like a chimpanzee to me. That if I had to say, describe it.
So it was all real quick.
Oh yeah. Maybe 5-6 seconds total.
Huh.
But that's a long time when you're looking at it.
Oh yeah, I know. It takes me 4 seconds to go over a long jump. It seems like forever.
We've got Bobo here too. He's had what, 5, 4?
He's had a few.
Sightings?
Yeah, actual sightings he's had himself.
I've had the feelings, and I've never saw any. My mother still says she saw a UFO in the 70s, like plain as day. There's a quest for all men, dreams, whatever you got. Whether you got a dream or you want to know about something, some people don't care, but I care. Well, I'm really looking forward to just a few days here, and it was really nice talking to you guys. Pleasure, and I hope to see you again.
Okay.
Really.
Nice to meet you.
You too.
Let's head over to the Bigfoot Museum, where Bobo and Steve are waiting to show us artifacts and evidence, further supporting the Bigfoot sightings in the area.
Museum of Willow Creek, China Flat. Am I at the Bigfoot Museum? I hope. I'm looking for Bobo. There's Bobo. I see Bobo. Bobo, Steve.
Robbie.
How you doing?
Hey, the captain. Nice to meet you.
I see it.
Yeah.
What's that?
Just hanging out at the Bigfoot Museum.
I want to see it.
There's a whole separate room for Bigfoot. Want to check it out?
Of course I do.
After you, Stephen.
The classics back here.
This is the real golden era, the original Bigfoot cast and tracks. This should all be in the Smithsonian, but they don't recognize the Bigfoot yet. So it's here. But this is the best stuff in the world.
Holy
really,
cow.
Bigfoot history.
Tell me about these.
Steve knows about these ones. Jerry Carew.
Yeah, in 1958, these were the first ones that got on the AP Newswire, went all across the world. And it's where the name Bigfoot became popular. These were the first ones that were documented in the area that weren't just rumors or ancient legends.
Well, yeah, because Jerry, they said all those drunk loggers were seeing things up in the woods, and Jerry said, he's a teetotaler, Sunday school teacher, so he got some casting material, and he cast that, and that's what he came back with, and they took the picture and went globally, around the world.
It was only 21 years later I jumped in writing.
Yeah? Did you land it?
Yes, I did. It was a short jump, 10 trucks. I was only 17.
This is the area where those tracks were found up on this mountain here, and Bluff Creek down below, in the film site for the Patterson films right in there.
The Patterson films, tell me real quick what that is again.
It was the first photographic evidence of a Sasquatch, and it's still the best piece of footage got to this day. It's just an amazing piece. They got some stuff over here on it.
Well, that's the Bigfoot from it right behind you there. That.
Oh yeah, that's the one, yeah. That's it. Everybody knows that picture.
Yeah.
Is that a female or a male?
Oh, that's a female. Look at the Hooters.
How do you know it's a female? Oh,
Hooters.
She does have Hooters.
Big time.
Huh.
No doubt.
Obviously never wore a bra either.
Wow. I always thought it was a male. She's ugly.
She's beautiful. Those are casts from Patty, the subject in the film. Those are casts made.
Patty LaBelle?
No, Patty the Squatch. Patty Lay Squatch.
Really?
Yeah, those are the footprints that were cast afterwards. Left in right
Why
there.
do they call her Patty LaSquatch?
Because Patterson filmed.
Roger Patterson
I call my manager
was the guy who
Squatchy.
shot the movie.
Patty LaSquatchy.
Yeah.
Dudical.
Yep, that's the man right there, Roger. It's a testament to him that he even got the footage. Uneven ground and cowboy boots, trying to hold that camera. It's amazing he got any footage at all. If he wasn't a total athlete in the gym, there would be no footage. There's about 10 more of them we got in the storage over here.
And these are a lot smaller than those other ones in that other case.
But you see how much bigger that we think is a male. These are the female. So there's a good chance that they could have been a breeding pair or related somehow, because the tracks were found 9 years apart, but same area. When you see these other casts around here, you'll see what the researchers looked for was the flat. If they found a track, they looked for the flattest, most even one. But for the anatomist, it's what's really great is when you see the flexibility of the foot and how it pushes, so you know it's not made by someone with a wooden footprint.
Wow, these are incredible.
There's the famous sort of mid-tarsal break that Jeff
What's the
Meldrum
biggest one you got? This one?
Well, you know what's funny is that it could be, we've seen trackways where it goes from 14 to 18 inches in the same trackway because their foot's so flexible, and like their foot's like almost like a hand. It's kind of more like a chimp. It has like, you know, you have a ball in your foot where your toes bend. They have another ball further back from that, a couple inches back, so their foot bends twice.
It's huge.
Yeah, that's big.
Holy moly. These are big feet. Big foot.
That's where they got the name.
It's not like, you know, the ape from years ago.
Oh no.
It's like these are huge, like a strange primate, whatever.
The biggest that ever lived. If it's Gigantopithecus, it's the biggest primate that ever lived for sure. A lot of people theorize that Sasquatch is a leftover remnants from the Gigantopithecus black eye. They found them in Vietnam and China. They found teeth and bones, some molars, jaw bones. And from that, they were able to reconstruct that skull. Yeah, and this here was cast by a Deputy Hereford up in Grays Harbor, Washington back in 1982. It's considered one of the best tracks ever got, if not the best. You can really see the foot morphology, the bone, how you can see that double ball, like the first ball and the second ball. That's the mid-tarsal
I see
break.
what you're saying there. It's huge.
And then the other thing you look for in these tracks is that if it's living flesh, they call it the mushroom effect. Like if it was wooden cutout, it would stay solid, like you'd have the same depth. But these ones, you'll see it's living flesh because they flatten out like real pads. They have a padded foot. That's what you're seeing there.
Okay.
But you know, you can see that the toe is up in the front, not on the side like an ape. So it's a different species from either human or apes. Is what we're looking at.
They're their own trip. But I'm not telling you anything you don't know. I'm sure you learned all that in medical school.
I think I'm kind of a doctor, but this is amazing, and I really thank you guys for showing me this. This is really cool.
How many times have you broken your feet?
You know what? I have the weakest feet in the world, and they're, you know, size 9.5.
Little guy.
Shoot, yeah. No, my feet.
we're looking at here are some hairs that were gathered in Hoopa Valley about 20-something years ago.
I didn't know they found any hairs.
Yeah, these are authenticated. Well, they're unknown primate. Because when you put them under an electron microscope, they all have like unique platelet structures. They send them off to the labs. They compare them to everything. Nothing else matches it. And all Sasquatch, whether it's white, black, brown, red, when you look at it, when you put it under the electron microscope, it all looks red.
Really?
The hollow shaft where their DNA is contained, like that's when they find human hair. They can get DNA off it sometimes, mitochondrial. This stuff is solid shaft, so there's no mitochondrial DNA.
These hairs are identifiable by the type of animal. They could be human, but if they don't have the traits of human hair, it's not bear hair, it's not dog hair, it's most likely not human hair. So what is it is the question.
The woman saw the Bigfoot before it took off, and the cops came out. This was actually gathered by the local fire chief. They responded to a 911 call.
And when was this?
Yeah, this is about 20 years ago.
So this could be from an alien. With hair.
It's possible.
I've never seen an alien with
Do
hair.
aliens have hair?
Now these are interesting, because this gave the anatomist and anthropologist a lot of information on how the bone structure of the foot was. So, and then with this track next to it, they were able to map out the bone structure of the foot, and also looking at it, it matched exactly with the cast. You see like the mid-tarsal break and all that. Now this guy that found these originally was a hoaxer, but there was 1,000 prints like this spread out over the side of the mountain. And look how big that is.
You see your lifeline.
Mike Honor.
Oh, you got a long one to go.
Damn it.
I don't think there's any dermal ridges on this one.
No.
Too bad you can't predict Bigfoot's lifeline. This looks like Bluff Creek sand right here.
These are paddy tracks. These are from the same track where you saw those other tracks. What's great about these is you see the total difference, how it's not a wood cutout. I mean, it's obvious, like it's a living, flexible foot.
This is what they call cripple foot, because that one there is
Yeah,
club foot.
Yeah, late, was it 68?
How big the feet are.
69, yeah. I mean, you're talking about legends that have made its way into movies so much farther down the line.
I'm glad my daughters love me, because there's a legend of Knievel.
These amazing artifacts can't be underestimated. The photos, the hair samples, the casts, and of course the Patterson-Gimlin film itself would be enough to convince a jury. But it's the eyewitness encounters that take it to another level. Next, we rush over to the Trinity River, where many sightings have occurred.
Who's this guy? I'm Rob.
Travis, good to meet you, Rob.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you as well.
Have you ever seen a Bigfoot?
Yes, I have, in fact.
You're kidding.
I am not. It was in 2005. Kind of met everybody. We were going to camp out, this logging road in Southern Oregon. And they put food out and the whole, everything that the Bigfoot folks do. And two things kind of walked downhill and started throwing pebbles at us.
The creatures? The Bigfoots?
I didn't see them at the time, but something was up there throwing little pebbles down. So that was unusual.
Did you ever actually see one?
I did. The next morning, everyone was still asleep, but my friend shook me awake and said he heard something back by where we put the food. So I said, well, let's go look. And he had actually woken up before me and seen sort of a gorilla type head through the trees. He turned, I was looking uphill, and I see him out of the corner of my eye turn, and up it goes. As I'm looking, I saw a Sasquatch, and it took 3 steps up and away from me, and it was kind of a reddish brown and just enormous. The first 2 steps, it had its arms way up like that, and I could see like the muscles of the shoulder and this huge bicep. And then on the 3rd step, it started to put its hands down, and then it was just gone.
Huh.
And so I walked back and was blown away. And when everybody...
I can picture this. I gotta see one.
I think I probably would have convinced myself that I was mistaken if I hadn't seen the footprints. And they were up a steep hill where I could match sort of the stride, but it's so steep I couldn't take a step up from that.
I ain't chasing them. I'll go hide out and wait for him. All right, Bobo, you showed me a lot of landscape and river, and I was wondering if you ever caught any rainbows or anything.
I've caught a few salmon and steelhead. I don't fish the rivers much. I'm more of an ocean guy, but this is great fishing, and there's actually a really good run right now. There's a big steelhead run and some salmon also.
So steelhead and salmon.
Yeah. So
no rainbow, really?
Oh, there's a few other trout in here, but the main, what people fish here is salmon and steelhead. So they're running right now.
Fishing.
Yeah. So the Bigfoot's actually capitalizing on that. They come when not so much the rivers, they'll hit them in a little bit of the rivers. When they go up the feeder streams, they'll get them when they get up in shallower water, they pick them off when the fish are laying their eggs.
Really?
Yeah. Everyone says, where's the bones? You might have seen a Bigfoot bone, we wouldn't know what it was. It looked like a cow bone unless you saw the skull.
Right. So what is a Bigfoot? Has anybody ever seen any Bigfoot droppings or poop?
I've found it a few times, yeah. It looks like human usually, but way thicker, and it's maybe up to 2 inches in circumference.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, you have pictures of...
I got a few pictures of some scat, yeah. I mean, they're living, breathing animals. I mean, they leave scat, they leave hair behind, they leave, footprints. I mean, they're a physical being. We'll go out and do some howling, some knocking. It's like 70 degrees right now, but it's supposed to snow later on.
What do you mean
today.
knocking?
You go to a tree with a stick and just take this and just crack. Maybe do like two or three.
No matter what kind of stick? Or...
Hardwood's better.
Yeah. Sounds more natural.
Yeah, we've used baseball bats or clavas, like from the drum kit, stuff like that.
My great-grandma gave me the inside of a vein cane that was so hard, I could have knocked a Bigfoot out with it. I know you've had some amazing encounters, Tell me about some of them.
They've been mostly downriver from here. This is the Trinity River. And you flow a little bit north, you're in Tupa, and that goes for 12 miles, and then you get to Witchpeg. And up from there is Bluff Creek, the next couple drainages up. So up from there up is where I've had most of my stuff all happen. I've had 2 sightings up there on Bluff Creek. I had my only daylight glimpse up there. It was just like a half second. I saw half the body stand out behind a tree. What happened was I was with my buddy. We were going squatching.
Squatching is just watching squatches.
Is the
going looking for squatches, right?
Yeah, it's the act of searching for Sasquatch.
Okay.
So we were squatching, and it was so hot we thought, well, we'll just go down Bluff Creek and we'll walk in the water and just kind of rock hop and swim through the deep parts and just enjoy the day, get out of the heat. Never think of Bigfoot to be out in the heat of the day because they're big, heavy, hairy animals. They're mostly out at night. So I thought there's no way they're out in the daytime. We started getting knocks, tree knocks, and whistles. Then rocks, like big rocks like this, coming out over trees like that size, flying over the trees, coming out and landing in the creek behind us. Never too close to us, always 50 feet away, 30 feet away. I was an audio recorder. I thought, well, at least I got the whistles and knocks, and maybe if it screams at us or something, I can record that. So I jammed back to camp, had my little dog Monkey with me, and she was sitting looking back the way we came, and I was reaching down to get my recorder stuff underneath the seat. When I did that, I had long hair at the time, I kind of cascaded down, but I saw her alert, just tighten up and her ears go forward, and I just started to glance, and I just see this tall, skinny, black, lean out behind a tree, just the whole left half of the body, one eye straight down. Really, really thin, but with a broad chest, tapered, V chest, but no muscle tone at all. Then I saw one a year later at nighttime, and Robert the Ranger, that's with us now, him and another guy had heard this Bigfoot moving around coming in towards the camp, and another guy and I myself didn't know about it. We'd walked past him down the old trail. In the dark, we were going to walk down to the bend so I could do a call down to the next canyon, and this thing tried to cross behind us. We thought it was another guy with us because he's like a kind of buff weightlifter guy. So we turn around and look, we thought it was our buddy Bart. He's like a kind of buff guy. We thought it was him. We're going, Bart, was that you for 5 minutes? We're looking at it going, what is going on? And then it just crossed the trail. People talk about how they're real smooth, you don't see a bobbing up and down, just like a glide, they're almost floating sort of, but it just walked across. And I didn't realize this at the time until it happened. When we walked back there and saw where it crossed, it's that Bart. We could hear it climbing up the cliff and crossing the road to go up Onion Mountain. And we walked back, and there's Bart and Robert hiding in the bushes with the night shot camera, hoping the thing walks up.
This was at night?
Yeah, it was at night, pitch black. And so what I realized was that one I saw in the daylight the year before, it somehow snuck. When I turned away for a second, it took it off, it jammed up that way. I went up there and smelled the most powerful smell. You always hear about the Bigfoot smell. I've only smelled it a few times, but that one was the most thickest one. You could walk back and forth like through a 10-foot cloud and walk 2 feet past it. You didn't smell nothing. It just hung there because there was no wind at all. Still, we think they have secretion glands like other apes, great apes, like how we smell there too. It's right for them like a skunk, like when they get agitated or mad or upset.
The Native Americans up there on the peninsula were talking about almost like a piss and vinegar, a really strong smell.
We think that they do like a skunk thing where it excretes out of their out of
makes sense.
Armpit area. Because that's what gorillas and orangutans and stuff like that. It's the same thing. It's a warning to other animals, like I'm upset. So when that day, the year before in the daylight, when I saw the tall, skinny one, I tracked it down right where that one had crossed behind us, and there was this trail. Because we used to walk down this old Bluff Creek road all the time, and you'd always look down in the creek, and on this side I was just like, from here to the truck with brush and trees. I tracked it, and I'd never looked to the side to the right because there was just like 30, 40 feet of brush and some small trees, and then like a vertical dirt cliff about 30, 40 feet as Onion Mountain Road goes up there. So I never even looked over there, and I realized there's this like 10-foot, 9-foot, 4-foot wide trail, wide Bigfoot highway. I'd walked by it hundreds of times and never noticed it. And that thing had gone up there.
Bigfoot highway?
Yeah, you'll find these things out sometimes in the woods, and they're just cleared out the whole way through, like 8, 9, 10 feet up and 4 foot wide. If you ever find one of their nesting sites, they'll never use it again. I think once you get hip to their trails, they quit using them for the most part. They get overgrown again. But I know where there's one that's still up, but it's up in the snow, above the snow line. We couldn't get to it. If you come back in the summer, we could hit it.
Oh, I'll be back. Especially if I don't see a Bigfoot.
I'll be here. But just downriver this way, the Klamath River's down there, and the Trinity runs into it, and then you get down. That's like a hotspot zone there, which it radiates off from Bluff Creek up to the Redwood National Park. There's like a 10-mile radius where I had most of my Bigfoot stuff happen. I've never had anything happen on this side, but people do all the time. I just don't spend much time here because there's a lot more people here.
You've heard from people that had sightings all over.
Right here.
Yeah.
People see them right there. People have seen them all around here. They're on these hills right here, crossing the road right there.
I was riding horses up by the trailheads. They go up to Emerald Sapphire Lake up in the Trinity Alps, right above the Trinity Alps Resort. We was just riding along, and then the horses didn't want to go. And them horses were born and raised up there too and stuff, so they wasn't scared of the bears or nothing like that. We had them on the property all the time. Just pretty much seen something going up the hill, and it actually had a butt, like a bear, like don't have a butt, standing upright, going up through the brush, over 7 foot. It's in the middle of the day. Kind of made your hair stand up and real eerie feeling. But we always got those, because we did a lot of packing back up in the Trinity Alps, and it's big, real rugged country, pretty much like here. When we was kids, you always hearing stories about them throwing rocks at people and whatnot, like too big of boulders for a human to throw. There was a time when Dad, he was not really a believer in anything that wasn't real. And he seen the tracks, big old strides, like 4-foot strides. And the weird thing is that it was it wasn't like how a person walked. With 2 feet, it was like 1 foot after another in a straight line. He saw the tracks, and his girlfriend she went and hid in the camper, and he really believed that it was there. But we seen something.
We're in the zone right now, half mile from town. But up there's where that's where I had my scary encounter, where I had my first where I for sure knew it was a Bigfoot and nothing else. I didn't see it that night, but I got
around here.
Yeah, just right down that ridge line. Followed that ridge line down about 12, 15 miles.
So is it most sightings have been in this area that you know of in the United States? Is that why they did the Bigfoot Museum, the Bigfoot Motel?
No, this actually isn't really, it's a hot spot, but it's more a historical hot spot. It's because Bluff Creek's here, and the first cast came out of here. Then the PG film, Patterson Gimlin film,
the first footprint cast.
Yeah, it came out of here. That's where the word Bigfoot originated, from the newspaper out of Eureka here in Humboldt. And then the PG film 9 years later that's what really put us on the map. So that's what's always brought people here, is like a Mecca spot. But There's more sightings. You don't get as many vocalizations here. They're quieter up in that area. They don't do the loud screaming and yelling like other parts of the country. Believe it or not, if you want to really hear a Bigfoot, probably the best spots to go would be like East Texas and the pine thickets there where it's kind of swampy. Up in Michigan and like West Virginia, those areas, they vocalize way more back there for whatever reason. I had my best sighting not far from there over on the Apache Reservation, the Hickory Apache Reservation up in Four Corners.
Right.
I had my best sighting there in 2004. I didn't know I was looking at a Bigfoot though. I had a night vision around my neck.
There's a bald eagle.
Yep. Alaskan pigeon.
That's a good sign.
Always.
All right, Bigfoot next.
It's a precursor.
See that? The bald eagles follow me around. I was doing a jump at a casino in Washington, Nooksack.
Oh yeah.
And they had me an eagle club made with a head. I'll show you later.
way.
It's in my bus, yeah.
That's for chiefs.
And yeah, and feathers hanging off it. 3 feathers, because I wear 3 feathers. They did that on purpose, I guess. But the day I jumped, a bald eagle was flying around, and the Indians, Native Americans, they just thought that I was something because of that eagle flying around.
Right.
You know, that meant a lot to them. 20 of them told me after the jump, "Did you see that eagle flying around? No wonder you made it."
Class. What'd you jump?
I jumped 150 slot machines. All stacked up, 3 rows of them. That was a good looking jump, yeah.
Classic.
It was close to 30 cars.
Funny story. So when Rob jumps the Grand Canyon, you know, just looking over there, you want a Ralph. But anyway, he does it. It's amazing. And he goes too high and too far. And then he hits a bump. So we get these emails. Yeah, well, you guys should have leveled it out and all this stuff. And they're so clueless because we did not move a speck of their land, which is our honor.
Why didn't you tear the rocks out?
The bump over there, and the hay bales. What do you got?
Part of the canyon, you know. You can't just tear it out.
How far was that jump?
That was the longest jump I ever did. It's 231 feet.
Yeah, 231. It's hardcore. 3 times as high, 3 times as far. You land 3 times as hard.
Right.
It's a whole nother thing, you know.
Right.
And God bless his dad. Period. End of story. But his dad jumped XR 750.
Dude, when he jumped on, it was insane.
Oh, I know.
I mean, my dad's gaps were usually 80 feet.
Right. His practice gap's 90 or 150.
The longest jump my dad ever tried was on the 650 Tramp at Caesars, 120-foot gap. And when I jumped there, it was tighter takeoff, tighter landing, but I went 150.
I remember I saw that. Up in the Olympic Peninsula, they've got spots like these big oxbows in the rivers with deep pools where they've seen groups of juvenile Bigfoots in daylight go out there, swim, corral the salmon, dive in and catch them. As soon as one grabbed one, they'd get out of the water and run away and like not share, just run up on the bank and eat it raw. They'd do it till there's only 2 or 3 of those Bigfoots left, and then the fish would get away so they wouldn't get one. But they normally get the salmon in steelhead when they go up into the feeder creeks, where it's a lot shallower. They can just walk out and get them in knee-deep water on the gravel bars.
Right.
On the river, when the salmon start coming up, they don't lay one on the bank. I mean, it doesn't happen. There's not always a Bigfoot there watching them, because there's a lot of places they're fishing, but they still to this day will put the first big salmon up on the bank as a gift and say, "This is for you." I still hear about to this day, they'll get big rocks and splashing them, and if they don't do it then, if they still keep fishing and don't, because they won't push it past that, they're not going to come attack you. They'll make you think they're going to. They'll scare you real bad. And if you don't do what they want, which is give them the salmon, when you leave, they're going to pull your net out and pull every salmon out and leave your net, so you're not catching overnight.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I know about the gill netters and all that stuff, but out in the Puget Sound, the Straits, and I just, you know, I only heard a couple stories, but enough to make me, you know, believe things.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like you telling me stories, all the research and years you've done things. I cannot not believe it.
We don't know exactly what they are, but we know they are there.
And they're big.
They can get huge.
Yeah.
I saw a 10-footer up outside of Witchbeck up there in Bald Hills. That was the first one I saw back in 2001. And it was gigantic. I mean, I remember looking at that going, how could this not be discovered? How could this not be in a zoo or a body? Or like it's the biggest thing in North America. It's the biggest land animal in North America.
All I can think of is They're so fast and high.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you, like in the hot weather, you think they go hang out in caves in the mountains?
Yeah.
I mean, is there a lot of caves around here?
Oh yeah, definitely there's a lot of caves. There's pretty extensive cave systems out here, and there's a lot of old mines.
Oh, okay, and they are all over underneath the ground,
All
like
over.
where I grew up in the mining town in Montana.
Yeah, see, in those places where it gets really bitterly cold, they utilize the old
I've
mines.
been down in them underneath in the mountains, and them. We used to do that as young kids. Go in there and, with flashlights and
Right.
look around, and I mean, big, huge mining tunnels in the mountains.
How dangerous does that seem now?
Oh, scary.
I
But,
know.
we were young and having fun. It was like a challenge. Let's go into mines tunnels, man.
If your 10-year-old kid was going into the mines now, you'd be like, get the hell out of there.
Yeah, now I wouldn't even want to go in there.
Right. So the natives have coexisted for thousands of years with these. They have a very deep body of knowledge of Sasquatch behavior, and they have a, not a complicated relationship, but like an established relationship, like don't shine lights on them, don't shoot at them. When they come up and say, hey, I'm here now, it's time for you to leave. A lot of places, it's the Indians at daytime, and at nighttime it's the Sasquatch. They gotta leave by nightfall. They can go gather medicine there, but they have to leave before it's dark.
Why?
Because that's the Sasquatch, then it's their turn for them to come down and feed and hunt and gather medicine.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Bears not frequently, but have been known to come up, bite the net, and back up and drag the net up onto the bank if there's like enough room. But they don't you can tell it's a bear then, but when it's a Bigfoot does it, they pull it hand over hand like we do, and they make a pile of the net there. So that's how they know the difference.
Who, the Indians or
Yeah,
all
the
of
natives.
us?
Because only natives.
Now I know.
Only natives can fish the rivers with gill nets. So
Right.
they're the only ones that have this experience.
Bo, thank you for answering some more questions. And I'd like to ask you some more in different places, wherever we go in the next couple days.
All right.
And I really appreciate it.
That's
Thank
time,
you.
brother.
Thank you.
All right. Let's go. I'll show you some more spots.
Sounds good.
When you experience the vastness of this part of Northern California firsthand, it's easy to see how a bipedal hominid can not only survive in these woods, you get the idea that they could thrive here. Let's travel along with Bobo as he shows us the passage to the infamous Bluff Creek area that Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin traversed in 1967.
All right, Robbie, this is where the mighty majestic Bluff Creek flows into the mighty majestic Klamath River. This is it.
I mean, that mountain. This is like Sasquatch land.
It is. I know a guy that's seen a female that sat up there at night, would sit up there and look out. Ran into it up there multiple times.
That's a good hideout.
It totally is.
And the river's so deep.
Oh, yeah. Giant sturgeon in there. Lots of salmon, steelhead.
Steelhead, salmon, everything. Washington, Oregon, everywhere, but I've never been here. And this is just like Sasquatch country.
It is.
And when it gets dark, you better camp out with me.
I'm gonna. Dude, this is your.
You wanna go camping?
Let's do it.
That's an old joke.
This is the Mecca. Dude, this is the Mecca for Bigfoot. This is for people come from all over the world. Dude, I've met people here from all over the world. People from Europe, Asia, South America that are here and just come here in amazement.
I'm amazed. I've been around. This is amazing. I get this feeling of just Bigfoot. 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 Boom, 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 boom.
Did I see a jump in your future?
Should I grab the flare gun?
You can jump that, dude. You can jump the gap at Bluff Creek.
What are you talking little cash, man? Me and Bigfoot get paid to get seen. But let's, when it gets dark, we're gonna go hit a couple trees, maybe see what...
We got some thermal imagers.
I'm good luck when it comes to seeing animals. I'm due.
Let's go. So you got two cowboys that could barely afford gas money. They had to borrow gas money to get down here. They were coming down to film Bigfoot tracks. They got a call from Al Hodgson up in Willow Creek saying there's some fresh tracks on the logging roads. So they came here. Now look how rugged that is up there. You're telling me that two broke cowboys from Yakima, Washington, drove all the way down here. They went 25 miles up this rugged canyon to fake a monkey suit? Doesn't make any sense.
No.
But here's the other thing I wanted to bring you here for. Robbie, look. Ramp here, ramp there, jump Bluff Creek.
Let me ask you. Guys came here and hiked years ago in 58?
They didn't hike. They were put in the first roads ever up here. The first roads ever out there.
So the guys came down here and they were, what are you telling me?
I'm just saying, like, when people try to say, oh, they hoaxed it, like, there's plenty of reasons you can show that they didn't hoax it just from what you see in the film. It's not a human. But why would they come to this rugged canyon and go 25 miles up there to fake something? They could have had the guy wear a gorilla suit up in Washington.
That's why I believe in the Sasquatch, the Bigfoot, God's creation, and the hideouts, and how fast they are, and how they're like the most mysterious creature on the planet Earth. We have the ocean, the planet Earth. We have 10 zillion things in the ocean we'll never see. It's always intrigued me. The trees, the mountains, the best things in life are free. Water, trees, mountains. And you do not know what God created. I mean, he created us. I hate the darkness because I had an experience when I was a little kid.
You're afraid of something?
Well, I saw something that stuck in my mind forever. It was like a midget evil devil. And it looked like a teeny little Sasquatch standing under my great-grandmother's tree, and I dropped the dishes and I never forgot it. And I saw it. Like some people have seen aliens. Some people have seen spaceships. Some people have seen Sasquatches, Bigfoot. I saw this little dude that was like the most evil thing I ever seen. Like a mean little devil from hell. It looked like a spirit. I've had my feelings in the mountains, up in Washington on the Olympic Peninsula. I've heard my stories, I've heard everything, and I've heard about so many screams all around the country, all over the world maybe.
You can hear that. It's hard to see them, but you can hear them.
I've heard about the scream. It's like nobody can explain that. Nobody can lie about that. And the smell and everything else, when they want their territory, they have a smell that comes out of them in a skunk type of way.
Yeah.
But it's a smell like any animal wanting to keep you away from everything.
Right.
The things I've heard through the years, living on the peninsula, all over the country and Canada, really. I mean, you know, the creeks, the Sasquatch, the Bigfoot, perfect landscape. It's getting dark. Let's go hit some trees, do something, light a fire, throw an apple out. I don't know. Let's go see if we can find a Bigfoot.
I got some buddies that we're gonna go meet up right now and do it. Let's do it, brother.
We've seen the artifacts. We've heard from eyewitnesses. Now Bobo takes us to a secret location close by known as a Bigfoot hotspot. We'll be meeting up with Robert and Rowdy as they show us what it takes to have an encounter of our own.
He can't say, I seek Sasquatch. We are looking for the hairy man.
Where we're going, 40 more miles north of Bigfoot Motel. The clouds are coming in. There's a storm coming in, we know, and it's really cloudy, stormy looking right now. We might get to go out and Bigfoot hunt. Where are these guys at?
They're just up ahead. We're a half mile away.
Okay. Are they good?
Keep going straight. We still got a ways.
Are you ready to do some squatching?
I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna hoop so damn loud.
doing?
Hey, good to see you.
Robbie, how you
All
doing?
right. Hey, Robbie, this is Rowdy.
Hey. Rowdy, nice to meet you. I was just telling Robert about going and picking up some footage tonight from one of the Ridge Lakes.
Any bears at least, or mountain lions?
Yeah, it looks like there might be some bear on there. I kind of skimmed through it, but we'll check it out later too. And I'll show you some highlights from our Bluff Creek project, camera project. We got some cougars this year, just in total heat. They're just horny for each other and screaming the whole time, man.
We got it. The bar or the mountains?
No, we got it at the Patterson-Gimlin site. So we had a sequence of each of the cameras stimulating.
So the male had to be younger, right, since he was a cougar?
No, he looked a lot bigger. He looked probably 20 pounds, 30 pounds heavier than
I'm sure he was younger. She's a cougar.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
I hope she, the cougar you get doesn't sound like that, man, because that would wake up the whole neighborhood.
If you're doing it right, she does.
So I heard you want to go out and do a little bit of squatching with us tonight.
Squatching, watching. I've heard enough stories. I've believed everything because of my experiences. I've never seen a squatch. I want to see one.
This will help.
Tell me a story.
This
I got
will
a
help.
thermal imager right here. Ever seen one of these? Registers heat. Like you see those cop videos where they look through the helicopter. You can check it out. Just don't look right at the fire, but look at the living. You can see what the living thing looks like.
I could have used this in the 80s.
Oh yeah, they're good all the time. Just watch, because you never know, they sneak up around camp.
I might not put it down. Darkly.
That's what we want.
Bobo's lucky enough to have seen a Sasquatch. Robert and I are still waiting for our encounter one day. But honestly, the Patterson-Gimlin film, that's one of the things that we have in history that's actually on celluloid that could be an actual Bigfoot creature. And I think the importance of finding the site is to get all we can get out of the site, information-wise, the distances, where things walked, how things looked. You know, it's the Mecca of places to go if you're into being a squatcher. And we've helped to probably bring the site to light, so people that do want to go there can get there safely. And actually, if they go there with us, you get a pretty good preview of where Roger was, where Patty was when she was walking away. We have several different artifacts that are still there that were actually in the film. There's fir stumps that are all over the place that we can point out. The trees in the background are still there. But here we are 50 years later, 52 years later, and it's turned into a complete forest. So it doesn't look really like it used to. But as the trees are getting bigger, the limbs are coming down, we can actually see through the forest again.
It's the best piece of evidence, and it's the most controversial piece of evidence. So being able to establish the location again and measure the objects there, we did a 3D scan of the place. This guy, Bill Munns. These guys, well, I helped a little bit, but they cleared out 2 acres. They did a 3D scan, so you got a pretty precise measurement. So the estimates of her size went from 7'4", 7'6", down to 6'4", 6'5", around there.
Who's bigger than Shaquille O'Neal? And I want to see a Bigfoot that's as big as him or bigger.
Here's the thing about the Patterson-Gimlin film. That's a female. And that's probably why she's not that big.
The track, which we assume was probably a family member group, is the big first one from 1958, the Jerry Crew holding up. The very first one. They're in that same little drainage right there together.
Did you say Jerry Cooney?
Jerry Crew. Jerry Cooney, the boxer?
Yeah.
I love that guy.
I do too, I know. I've had my feelings and my eerie feelings out in the middle of friggin' nowhere many times. Mostly Washington on the peninsula. Very scary.
Yeah.
The Native American stories and all that, you know that. And the smell and the screams in Sasquatch, Bigfoot land of the land. What would you guys do? I mean, do you have any callings, certain noises, strategies?
They know we're here. They might come in and check us out. And that might give us an opportunity to look at them on the floor or hear them or something like that.
I want to know what people want to know about Bigfoots that you guys can convince me that they want to know. That's what I want to know.
The best thing to convince you to have your own experience, the best thing to do that is we should do some calls some loud calls and see if we can call them in.
This is the expert caller.
Whoop, 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 whoop. Adam 12, pick up Knievel again.
You want to go out and do some calls?
I want to.
Here's one of the ways we can attract Bigfoot. Some say, especially Bobo, that pounding a big old piece of wood on a big old piece of tree sounds throughout the canyon and probably brings in a Bigfoot. Why do you think that is, Bobo?
There's only been 2 or 3 eyewitnesses that actually seen them hitting a stick on a tree, but we've heard it numerous times, and the thought is they do it when there's people around so they can alert each other where they are. They also have been observed doing it when they're like trying to sneak up on deer and position themselves when they pounce to get the deer out of the meadow. They'll knock to show themselves where they are.
So it's like it's a signal to the other Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Well, let's give it a try, man.
Okay, I hit the tree. Now teach me how to do some calls or something.
All right.
Out here in the middle of the night.
Yours need a little work. I like the effort, but you gotta have a little more kind of shake. I'll show you how to do it. This is what we call the Ohio Howl. It was recorded in 1995 back in Ohio, and it goes like.
Let me try that.
That's good.
Make no mistake, this is dangerous territory. Let's talk to Rowdy about the Bluff Creek Project's excellent work videotaping wildlife in the area and the amazing footage that they've caught.
So, Robbie, there's all these ways to call in a Sasquatch, but to be honest with you, this is the only way we're going to find a Sasquatch, is a daytime, good video image or a still image of a Sasquatch. That's why we have these cameras running 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, doing things that we can't do. We can't be in the woods all the time. So these game cameras are going to be the way that we're going to find Bigfoot. Here's a good example of a bear that somebody could mistake if they saw it at a glimpse. It could be a Bigfoot standing up. What we're doing is cataloging everything that's out in the wilderness in this area. And we've got a pretty extensive catalog so far. We don't have Bigfoot yet, but this is the way I think we're going to find one. These cameras have been there long enough, so if there is any concern that Bigfoot know and see a camera, these cameras have been there for 8 years, so they've become a part of the environment. Seeing all the different animals that are out there, we know what something sounds like, we know what it looks like, and we have a pretty good idea of how many animals are out there. So hopefully one day, the Bigfoot does walk in front of one of these cameras. We have these cameras down at the Patterson-Gimlin film site, which is still the best piece of evidence that we have for Bigfoot. And that's what we hope to replicate with one of these cameras, is to see a Bigfoot walk in front of it. We've got just about every animal that's known in this area on these cameras. We've even gotten a Humboldt marten, which is considered extinct. We've got hundreds of videos now of this breeding pair. So in that sense, one day, there might be a chance that a Bigfoot will walk in front of our cameras. So Robbie, check out this Humboldt marten. These things were thought extinct at one time, but our cameras at the Patterson-Gimlin site actually got several videos of a breeding pair there. This is what stimulates us to keep this going, because someday, if we can get a Humboldt Martin, which is supposedly extinct, maybe we'll find a Bigfoot one day. Thanks for coming out, you know. Robert and I have really been doing a diligent job the past 8 years now.
Yeah, about 8 years.
And the methodology and the consistency of putting these cameras out and making them work all the time may be the key to finding Bigfoot one day. So Robbie, I hope you had a good time, and I hope you learned something about what it's going to actually take to find Bigfoot.
While we didn't see a Sasquatch that night, we learned that Willow Creek and Bluff Creek are still rampant with sightings. Hundreds of years and even recent encounters, according to our eyewitnesses. It's fascinating because when you're here in this area and see the surroundings and the impossible heights that you'd have to be able to climb to get to the top of these mountains, which is humanly impossible, it all makes sense. So it's only a matter of time. The right equipment, persistence, and tenacity. I'm sure Bluff Creek Group will achieve the Holy Grail footage, and no one deserves it more than they do. It's real, folks. There's way too many credible witnesses from all walks of life. They're describing the same thing and even noting nuances that each other doesn't know because they've never met or never shared. And when you begin to hear those similarities, you can tell what's a hoax, what's not a hoax, at least to the best of your ability. And when you realize that the sightings that they're talking about and they're describing are real, well, that just reveals that it's the biggest mystery of all time.
Robbie Knievel, American legend, travels the globe, searching for answers to unsolved mysteries and legends. There are lights in the sky around Mount Shasta. Is it paranormal activity or aliens from outer space? Join us as Robbie Knievel explores the unknown on the next installment of Knievel's Quest, as we seek the truth beneath the mysteries of Northern California's Shasta Lights.
And when it gets dark, you better camp out with me.
I'm gonna. See, this is your.
You wanna go camping?
Let's do it.
That's an old joke. Big foot piss.
Well, to be honest with you, I think it takes a bigger piece of wood and the right kind of tree to really get that sound that a Bigfoot could actually create by swinging and hitting something. So I don't know if that cane would quite do it.
So
you give it a try, man.
Like a dad tap or just a tap?
No, like you're gonna hit a ball out of the park.
Fuck dad.
That's your dad's revenge right there, buddy. That's your dad's revenge, dude.
One walks up and slaps me in the face.
Would you rather they slapped you somewhere else?
On the ass, whatever.
Yeah.
I heard a Bigfoot scream in daylight down here one time. Most of the Bigfoot action happens down here for the most part. This end, the north end of the valley. They call the Bigfoot Highway